Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I want to talk a little bit about the 2014 Doctor Who Christmas episode, Last Christmas. Is written by Stephen Moffat, starring, of course, Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor and Jenna Coleman as Clara Oswald, respectively. This episode just had a little bit of everything. I mean, from, laugh out loud, hysterical, and comedic moments to edge of your seat tension along the lines of similar things you see in movies like Alien and Aliens. Even though I've never seen the film, it had a kind of dreamscape Inception thing going on. Well, little I know about that particular film, and I've heard this vaguely, compared to that as a Christmas episode goes. And yeah, it was really sort of dreamy-weemy, I guess you could say, in the timey-wimey sense, as well as it had a lot of heart. It tugged at my heartstrings a few times over, and it's everything I could have wanted from a Doctor Who Christmas episode, neatly packed and, wrapped around it with a Doctor Who bow, essentially. And it's probably neck and neck with my favorite all-time, Christmas episode from the modern series, A Christmas Carol. The more I think about it, you never know, I might even edge that out little by little. But I loved watching this episode. Peter Capaldi, from beginning to end, is just a phenomenal 12th Doctor. A Doctor in general. I don't think I could ever go so far as to say any one of the actors is my favorite Doctor, or any one of them is the best Doctor. But whenever you have a series with an actor like Peter Capaldi playing that lead role, it's hard to not want to, just sort of blurt that out, that he's the best we've ever had, that kind of thing. It would do a disservice to all the actors who've come before, but not to Peter Capaldi himself, because he's just phenomenal. He's why I want to watch the series, and it's hard to say that's the case with all of the former Doctors, depending on the story. Certain stories they are showcased in, and they're the reason you're watching. You're just, blown away by how phenomenal they are. So far, every single episode of Capaldi's has been that match for match, for me at least. Loved seeing Jenna Coleman come back. There was a lot of question as to whether that was going to be the case in this episode. It seemed like her character might have finished her travels in the TARDIS with the Doctor, and I'm very happy. I'm going to be one of those voices championing the fact that, hell yes, Clara's journeys in the TARDIS continue. I'm thrilled with that. I would have been a bit upset, a bit unhappy if it was her time to go and Jenna Coleman had left consciously the show to move on. And there are still hints and whispers that we might be getting a new companion, those kinds of things, in Series 9, and, that the days are numbered for Jenna and the character of Clara. But the longer she stays on, the more happy I'm going to be. And, of course, I can't wait for the eventual next chapter as well. I will be watching that just as much and just as excitedly, I'm sure, as I'm watching the continuing adventures of Clara and the Doctor in Series 9. What can I say about Nick Frost's Santa Claus? I absolutely loved the sort of, you're never quite sure. It's kind of left ambiguous. Is he real? Is he not? Of course, I'm a believer in magic. I'm a believer in Santa Claus to this day. I will always go out on Christmas Eve and look out at the stars. I did so this year, and I love that. I love the idea that, he was really quirky and really commanding. He owned that role as far as I was concerned. What you would expect, or at least hope to expect, from a real incarnation of a Santa Claus. He was, forthright. He was confident in everything he was saying and doing. And then you have this added sort of tack to it where, well, is it something coming from the mind of the Doctor? Is it something coming from the communal minds of all these victims of these, sort of sleeper face-hugger looking aliens and everything like that? Very intriguing was that whole aspect of the story, and of course waking up out of a dream to wake into another one, and so on and so on and so on. We got to see really old Lady Clara, which was again another dream and a challenge from maybe jolly old Saint Nick in the closing moments of the Doctor's beating and besting that alien to wake up out of it. It was just really, really cool, of course. I loved seeing Michael Troughton back in the series, and anytime we have a namesake that harkens back to the classic series or the classic Doctors, familial and all that kind of stuff, I absolutely love it. It was really cool. He's sitting there eating like a piece of chicken or whatever it is, and I'm just highly reminded of his father, Pat Troughton, in a scene like all hell's breaking loose, and here we would have the Doctor in the background munching on some chicken, knowing exactly what to do. Only his character, in this episode didn't really know what to do, but I still loved seeing him in there. Of course, you have Faye Marsay's Shona, which I've heard a lot of acclaim about, and you gotta admit, the opening moments where she's like dancing to that, Christmas rock and roll tune and everything like that, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was laughing out loud. I was like ear to ear grinning, you know, that entire scene. And then, of course, she's kind of smart mouthed throughout the episode, calls the doctor a magician and everything. And could that be hints of things to come with The Magician's Apprentice, the first episode title that we got at the tail end of this one for the first episode of Series 9? Who knows? You know, it's a question to be begged until such a time as Series 9 begins airing. And then it was also cool seeing Dan Starkey without the, of course, Strax makeup and any sort of Sontaran form as one of the elves. And yeah, it was just a fun time to be had from beginning to end. Absolutely loved it. I have to give a mad shout out of thanks once again to my man Howard on Facebook for making it possible, for taking the time to get this episode available to me, as I have no other means to check him out. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of Last Christmas if you've seen it. And did you enjoy the episode, the performances, everything like that, as much as I did? Also have to, I can't forget Samuel Anderson's Danny Pink. I loved being able to see that character again, and I found it very compelling because, again, sort of like with the Santa Claus thing, it was a little bit ambiguous. Was this really the sole essence of this character, or was it just a product of Clara's mind? Could it have been a product of the Doctor's mind? Because, of course, they were all sort of communal in that dreamscape. There's a point where Danny becomes very much his own character again, even though it is a dreamscape. And that left me to question, you know, was this another final sacrificial act of his character, or is it just because that's what Clara knew him to do and knew him to be? And yeah, he will be missed in the show. I actually really liked Danny, and I liked the dynamic between he and Clara. And it's too bad, you know, I mean, it is a science fiction program, and sometimes you want characters to stay dead. You don't want this idea of, well, everybody can come back and stuff like that. That's not how the real world works. But I think I would probably forgive it if Danny did come back someday. And so, yeah, otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video and that you had a happy holiday, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.